Hey everybody, welcome to Missing Links with John, Brock, and myself, Stephen King, where we discuss what's missing in Web3 architecture. For feedback, please go to missinglinks.fm, send us an email, give us some feedback on what we discuss and what you'd like us to cover next week. All right, let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome to Missing Links. It's just me this week. John and Brock are tied up with other commitments. And so just thought I'd do a little bit different of a format. We'd talk a little bit about some of the news, not FTX though. And also an EIP that's been out for a little while, but I think is pretty interesting. And I think it's going to change the next cycle in crypto. And I think let's start there. So there's an EIP called 4337, and it's about account abstraction. And what it does is it basically is taking a wallet. You know, you have something like Metamask today, and that's defined as an externally owned account. And these externally owned accounts have a couple of flaws. And so basically this EIP 4337 is going to create a smart contract that acts as a user's wallet. And there's a lot of benefits to this. First of all, you get custom signature schemes. So you can use whatever signature scheme you like. So you can use multi-sig where n number of signatures are required to sign a transaction. You can do things like atomic operations, so you can batch multiple user operations into a transaction. So if you think about MetaMask, you know, when you go on to Uniswap, well, Uniswap, first you have to approve the transaction, and then you have the transfer the funds. You know, I want to send 1 ETH from me to Brock or me to John. Using account abstraction, it can all be done in one transaction. So we can save on both the congestion and some potential gas costs as well. So another benefit is Paymaster. So Paymaster is really exciting. So we built a previous company called Imbrex, which was a real estate application. And this was back, we started it in 2017. And so 2017, 18, 19, you can imagine, you know, we're in a world where the UX for crypto is not very good. It's still kind of rough, but it's gotten a lot better. But imagine trying to get real estate people into Web3 back then. And we were using things like quadratic voting. So we were having users actually vote. So there's a lot of spam in real estate in terms of listings. Real estate agents leave their listings up for extended periods of time, even when the house or commercial building's off market, in hope that they'll generate leads for new listings that they have. Well, this isn't good for people that are actually looking for a new house that is on the market. And so right now you have companies like Zillow that basically manually go through the information, and they try to get rid of spam, but they don't do a great job. And so we had our users vote. So if you were in a local market, you saw, hey, that house is actually off market, you could put it in votes and you could get compensated for basically telling the truth. Well, I say all this because our users couldn't do that. They couldn't figure out even how to open MetaMask, how to create a MetaMask account. And then when the users that did figure that out, they had no idea what gas was. It was a foreign concept to them. And so we built a very complex engine so that we could pay that gas on their behalf. And maybe we'll talk about that at some point. But basically what this does, Paymaster, is the sponsor. So we or anybody can sponsor the gas and pay it on behalf of the users. This is going to be huge. And I don't think this is talked about. I haven't heard it talked about all that much. But I can tell you based on experience that this is going to change things in the next bull cycle. Now, will the next bull cycle be gaming, NFTs? Who the hell knows? I don't know. But I do know that this particular EIP is going to make it a heck of a lot easier for people to get into Web3. The other thing too is that it does things like future proofing. So we're basically moving away from these externally owned accounts, or will be, like Metamask. It'll be interesting to see how they play in this new system, and maybe they already are. But it's creating basically a universal smart contract interface for wallets, and so every developer is going to be working basically on a uniform wallet type, and so it'll make things like bug discovery and other development a little bit easier. All right, so there's some things that I would need John or Brock to dive into, because it changes in terms of the operations are created by the users, and then so the transactions are created by the users, but then they're sent to a user mempool, and there's these bundlers, which are, they say that the bundlers are miners. Maybe they're going to be stakers, but basically a bundler grabs these transactions, bundles them, and then puts them on chain or puts them into a block. There's some interesting things around MEV, but I'm not going to go into that right now. But all this is to say that EIP 4337 is going to really change the next cycle. I mean, it'll be really cool to see the apps that come out of this. The existing apps will get easier to use, and new people that are, or new projects that are building in the space are going to make onboarding a lot easier. And we've been working with a lot of NFT projects that are bringing people like artists into Web3, and these people, all this stuff is foreign. Just remember, when you first got into crypto, whether you're a developer or not, it doesn't make sense until it does. So anyway, I thought that was worth talking about. The other thing I want to touch on is, I know a lot of people hate Ripple. I think it's an interesting project. I really do. I think it has a use. It has a use, both the currency and the company behind it. But as everybody knows, for the last 2 years, they've been in this lawsuit. And I just think that the outcome of this lawsuit, coupled with the outcome of what happens with FTX, is going to create regulation that's going to make all this a lot more mainstream. So I think if you couple this with EIP 4337, it's just more fuel for the fire in terms of the next upswing. And, Ripple's attorney, Stuart Alderodi, I don't know how to say his last name, but basically he tweeted that this is our final submission, where we ask the court to grant judgment in our favor. After 2 long years, Ripple is proud of the defense we've mounted on behalf of the entire crypto industry. We have always played it straight with the court. Can't say the same for our adversary, which is basically the SEC. So basically, this is coming to a conclusion, or it sounds like it is soon. And obviously, the outcome of this will affect the entire industry. And so this is something worth paying attention to, whether you like Ripple or not. They're working with, like the BI, or they were working with the BIS and basically every major central bank around the world. And if you think about making crypto go mainstream, the banks aren't going to just dissolve or go away. I mean, maybe they will, but that would be if that actually happens, we're going to have bigger fish to fry. The world would be crazy. And I don't think that that's the right way to transition. I think that there's a bridging mechanism where, banks, if they can basically move currency instead of over SWIFT, but they can use XRP to go from dollars to yen, that is smoother, and it doesn't disrupt the existing system to the point of pure and utter chaos. Sure, a lot of people disagree with me, but I don't want to live in a world that is that chaotic. So I'd rather deal with the banks and a smoother transition. So there are some other things that are interesting that are happening around NFTs. As I've said in previous podcasts, I wasn't a fan of NFTs. It's fine for art. That's cool, but it wasn't a use case that attracted me, having a Bored Ape, or, especially for what they were trading at. But what does interest me are things like tying it to real world tangible assets. And so like real estate, that's a great example, putting a title into an NFT or fractionalizing, your mortgage. That's interesting. But this is interesting too, which is music. So there have been projects that have tried this. One was what were they called? Jazz. It doesn't matter. Basically, Warner Music is doing it. So Warner Music is working with a lot of big artists, actually. Deadmau5, Steve Aoki, Dylan Francis, and they're basically taking their songs and they are digitizing them through NFTs. And the platform is called LGND. So it's an iOS app. Uh, you know, Unfortunately, they're going to be subject to the 30% Apple fee. But basically, uh, they're going to start this in 2023. So this will be a heck of an experiment. And look, if anybody can do it, it's Warner Music. They've got the Rolodex and the artists and I assume that they're going to be working with somebody like Dapper Labs, or I don't know, somebody that's already well established in crypto to make this work. So that'll be cool to see next year. And who knows, maybe this will kickstart the next bull market. These things start slow and then they gain steam pretty quick. And the crypto cycles are short in comparison to the equity markets. Another interesting thing that happened, and this is important. So banks in Switzerland, this is Bank SYZ. So this is, I don't know how you say it. But in my last company, we set up shop in Zug, one of the companies, and I can't speak more highly of that country. In fact, my brother, his wife, and their 3 kids live there, and they are so forward thinking when it comes to crypto. And that should be a benchmark for the world to take this stuff seriously, because the Bank of International Settlements is located in Switzerland, and they're sort of the financial hub of the world. And if they're welcoming this technology, then it would be wise for the rest of the world to pay attention and to maybe regulate it as they see fit, but not go to war with it. And so this bank in Switzerland, it's a private bank, and it does cater to wealthy clients with 30 billion under management. And basically, they're offering this new service that will allow their clients to both hold and trade crypto in a regulated bank environment. So that's really big. Maybe I know there's been a couple of banks that have tried this, but I really get excited by this, and I think it's going to change a lot of things. So the last thing that is worth talking about, and it aligns with this whole NFT train that doesn't seem to go away, but I am starting to get on board with, is Nike's RTFKT. Basically, they did their drop, and people are upset because I guess it was limited, like is natural in crypto. But basically, they're doing an NFT mint of Nike-inspired shoes with Web3 functionality, and the shoes are only available to those in the U.S. So it's angering a lot of people abroad. But this is just in line with everything else that we're talking about. I mean, Nike is a big company. Adidas is doing things like this too. They're tying it to real world assets. So they're tying it to, a shoe in this case. And, I don't know that the use case, I mean, I guess these things can be collectibles. And so I don't know how much. I don't collect shoes. I'm sure like Air Jordans are, I don't know, ripped off like everything else. And so maybe there's going to be some kind of an imprint that authenticates the sneaker. And then maybe you can do things like fractionalize ownership. I mean, some of these shoes go for $500,000 and there's actually some people that make a living off of trading these sneakers. And God bless them. I mean, that's pretty amazing. So the point is, there's all this stuff on the surface that's bad news, crypto, it's just I've been in this space since like 2013. When did Gox go down? I got in just before Gox went down, um, and it's actually nice to have these short condensed cycles. They just kind of they rip up and they unfortunately they rip back down. But right now everybody hates crypto, and this is just how it goes. But underneath the hood, I can tell you that people are building in the space more than ever. And not only that, they're building real products that will have real revenues. And then you're seeing the legacy companies that are actually playing in the space, and so they're not going to just disappear. They see the writing on the wall, and they're going to participate in this movement. So next week we'll have John and Brock back and have some more fun. If you have any feedback, we really appreciate it. Or if you can rate us on Apple and Spotify, we'd greatly appreciate that too. And then you can always email us at feedback at missinglinks.fm or missinglinks.fm. I'll eventually get that. Okay, until next time. Bye-bye.